Donald Trump need not fear that indictment, as even some of his harshest critics now admit. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another Declaration of Truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. In the day following the arraignment of Donald J. Trump in a Manhattan courtroom, a key fact has become apparent that no one can ignore, which is this indictment of Donald Trump is too weak to do anything but make a fool of the prosecutor. When even some of Trump's harshest critics admit that this indictment cannot stop him, one can be sure it's weak. Before I show you how weak it is, and also talk about the speech he made to his followers when he got back home the night before last, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which reads Ultra MAGA. Again, referring not just to Trump, but his supporters too. Those of us who support Trump can hold our heads high, the same as he can. One more thing, if you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do so long as it's legal tender. Now, Judge Juan Merchan did not order any pretrial detention of Trump. Neither did he forbid the former president to talk about the case. He seems to have admonished him only to refrain from further incitement of violence, whatever that can mean. So Trump, as he had planned, returned to his Mar-a-Lago home and addressed his well-wishers there. I have a link in the description to the Officer Tatum's video on YouTube in which he covered the speech from beginning to end. MSNBC, who are nothing but political hacks, refused to cover it, but CNBC did cover it, as did CBS and ABC. CNN chose to dispute most of what Trump said. For instance, they denied flatly any association, financial or otherwise, between George Soros and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin L. Bragg. Technically, Bragg took money from the Color of Change PAC, and Color of Change PAC takes money from Soros. But CNN wants to deny any connection between the two. And what do they base that on? Just this. Soros never wrote a direct check to Bragg, nor any memo to anyone at Color of Change, nor did he speak personally or by telephone to anyone at Color of Change about Alvin Bragg's candidacy. Ladies and gentlemen, that's quibbling. Color of Change exists to find prosecution attorneys that won't prosecute common street crime. Alvin L. Bragg fits that mold. And George Soros surely gets something for the money he spends on Color of Change PAC. That is only a sample of CNN's quibbles and their own assertions of facts not in evidence or denial of facts in evidence. So I'm not going to talk about CNN's attitude anymore. What purpose would that serve? None that could have the slightest use. Now, let's talk about that indictment. Trump seems to have two kinds of critics, hacks and realists. The hacks will trumpet any legal accusation against the former president and hope it sticks. I'm not even going to identify the hacks. I wouldn't waste my time or yours. But the realists will look hard at what will happen and what will not. And the realists seem to be very, very disappointed in this indictment. Technically, the indictment has 34 counts, but those counts all refer to the exact same act. Such redundancy normally does not translate into cumulative or consecutive sentences, but rather concurrent sentences. And even so, statutes of limitations seem to have expired long since, whether this act is a misdemeanor or a felony. Independent Journal Review carried an incisive commentary about the indictment. They noticed that Alvin Bragg has no federal jurisdiction. Therefore, he cannot charge a federal campaign finance violation. The only thing that turns these alleged falsifications of business records from misdemeanors to felony is an attempt to conceal another crime, hence the federal campaign finance violation charge. But if that other crime is a federal offense, why is the New York County District Attorney handling it? Why not the United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York? Greg Price dropped a tweet and then replied to it, so I have a link in the description to his second tweet. Between the two, he said, and I quote, Alvin Bragg says that the second crime Donald Trump tried to conceal with the hush money payment to the actress Stormy Daniels, again that's her stage name, was suppressing negative information to help his chances of winning the 2016 election. By this standard, we must indict the entire DOJ and everyone at old Twitter and Facebook for suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop in the 2020 election. Unquote, Greg Price. And did you catch that? The 2016 election? The indictment says the payment took place in 2017. How, did he pay someone to backstep into time? Never mind that actress. Andrew McCabe, former deputy director of the FBI, had to scoff at Alvin Bragg's legal theory. I have a link in the description to Steve Krakauer's tweet embedding a video of McCabe's interview with CNN. Quote, disappointment, says Andrew McCabe on CNN, regarding the indictment. Everyone was hoping we would see more. McCabe says that the justification to try these misdemeanors as felonies simply isn't there. It's hard to imagine convincing a jury that they should get there. Close quote. Bear in mind that Trump and McCabe now hate each other. Still, McCabe professed disappointment. He knows this indictment cannot succeed. And McCabe isn't the only one. Now, before I get to more Trump critics who don't think this indictment can cut it, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silverlines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. So visit oursilverlines.com and learn how you can build a legacy to your future. Now then, the next one I want to talk about is Ambassador John Bolton. Neocon, frankly, he's earned the title of warmonger. Well, he professed extraordinary distress at the Trump indictment. Stephen Newcomb of The Hill covered his reaction. In an interview on CNN, Bolton said, and I quote, speaking as someone who very strongly does not want Donald Trump to get the Republican presidential nomination, I am extraordinarily distressed by this document. I think this is even weaker than I heard it would be. I think it's easily subject to being dismissed or a quick acquittal for Trump. Unquote, John Bolton. Andrew McCabe, writing at Vox, also cast doubt on the indictment. I quote him, I'm not particularly inclined to defend Donald Trump as a sterling adherent to the rule of law, and yet the Manhattan DA's office long investigation culminating in last week's 34-count indictment of Trump for falsifying business records, has not inspired confidence in me that this was an apolitical process and a fair-minded effort to assess whether laws were broken, rather than an attempt to get Trump for to-be-determined crimes. The soon-to-be-determined crimes? Yeah, Mr. Brokaw said it, I didn't. And I said, as I said, a realist. He went on to list 7 criteria for a politicized case. He then admitted the Trump indictment meets some of the 7 outright and the rest arguably or partially. He also expressed a fear that the prosecution of Trump would, and again I quote, backfire, spurring Republican voters to rally around him and easing his path to the GOP nomination, making our country's divisions even worse, setting us off on a cycle of retribution, unquote Andrew McCabe. You know what? I think that cycle of retribution has already started. Republicans in Tennessee have already moved to expel 3 of their Democratic colleagues for disruptive behavior. True enough, those 3 did disrupt proceedings by using bullhorns to incite visitors in the gallery to shout loud chants during a legislative session. I don't think there's a legislative chamber in the world that would permit a member to carry parliamentary invective that far. But one of the 3 has behaved in a disorderly manner before. Now, why did the legislature expel him then? Why wait? Because this is his 2nd offense? But then, why move to expel all 3? If it was 2nd for one of them, it was only the 1st for the other 2. Well, Dr. Steve Turley thinks he knows why. This is part of a cycle of retribution that, he says, the Democrats started with the Trump indictment. Furthermore, he urges other Republican supermajority legislative chambers to do likewise. Don't just take my word for that. Listen to the man himself. He's on YouTube, and I have a link to his video discussing that very thing. Now, as for Trump himself, he has suffered no damage to his reputation. Time was when a mere accusation would be a crippling scandal. But that was when prosecuting attorneys exercised due care in the kinds of cases they brought. It was also in an era in which prosecuting attorneys ran on only one thing: maintaining law and order. Robert Morgenthau understood that. So did Vince Bugliosi, who famously prosecuted Charles Manson and his, quote, family, unquote. Alvin L. Bragg never could see this, and Color of Change PAC didn't want someone who could see this. That's why only those who hate Trump anyway, and not all of them, judge him by this indictment. Links in the description of the article, to the Officer Tatum's repeat and commentary on Trump's speech, to Greg Price's tweet on standards of concealing information to win an election, to the interview with Andrew McCabe about the indictment, to Dr. Steve Turley on the expulsion of the Tennessee 3, to my Declarations of Truth Twitter account, and the Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to ourcivilize.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to the Trump arrest playlist and to both the videos I mentioned here this morning. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another Declaration of Truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.